It's now time for What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville, with the host, Mr. Sam Parada, and here he is.
What's up, Asheville? Welcome to What's Up Asheville here on WRES 100.7 FM. I am your host, Sam Parada, communication specialist for the city, and today we have Marcus Kirkman. He is the manager for business inclusion with the city. What's up, Marcus?
What's happening, Sam?
It's all good. How have you been? Yeah. Well, I mean, this is your third time on the show, so always happy when you say yes, and you say yes pretty often. Marcus is my yes man.
Yes, indeed. It's always good to get together and spend some time to really talk about everything this happened.
Yeah. We got a lot going on, obviously, since Helene. I feel like this show has been Helene-centric since it happened. Another episode today, just the same. So, yeah, let's kind of just jump right into it. I just want to ask you, too, how have you been since the storm, specifically?
I appreciate that question. I think it's been ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
You know, the first probably 6 months.
Yeah,
feels like 6 months.
We're like on month 7 right now.
Emergency, you're in an emergency response,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to a point where you feel like you can breathe. So this is a breathing space.
Yeah, I think so too. There's been, I do agree with how you mentioned that. It's like, to me, it feels like waves. Like, the emergency happened, and that was a tsunami. Like, can't swim, can't breathe. And then the waters finally went out, and we started that recovery process, and it comes and goes. But yeah, I do think that we're at a breathing space right now. CDBG-DR just passed. That's a great landmark. We're going to start, all these infrastructure projects once the plans get approved, and we, get together with the city and see what will move forward. So it's good. It's all good.
It's all good.
But today, the topic of conversation is kind of debris adjacent. And no, we cannot answer when debris will finish being picked up. That is a very difficult topic to talk about because we just don't know. But we can talk about your part in being part of the debris process, which is more related to the business part. So, yeah, I've talked a lot introducing this. I would love for you to take your time and tell us, what your part in all this, your role has been since the storm, before the storm, however you want to take it.
Right on. Thank you again, Sam. I think a great starting point would be when I stepped into this role as the business inclusion manager, which is just over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really significant because no one at the time could ever have imagined what happened with Helene. So once I stepped into the role as the business inclusion manager, what was really important for me was to learn about our local underutilized businesses and small businesses, understand what their business model was and how best to be of support for them. So I stepped into the role in April. In June, we held our first AVL outreach event.
Mm-hmm.
It was a half-a-day event to bring in local businesses, small businesses, underutilized businesses, to learn about how to engage with the city around procurement and contracting.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you to define what businesses and for what services, because business inclusion is specifically for the contracts that the city puts out. So
that's exactly right. So the City of Asheville has 4 main buckets of opportunities for businesses around procurement and contracting. We have construction services. That is the greatest opportunity for businesses. That's where we spend the majority of our money. Then we have professional services. Professional services is not typically what we think of when we think of professional services. By the time, even I thought it might be doctors, lawyers.
Right.
Professional services in this sense are construction managers at risk, architectural engineers, and surveyors.
So a lot of like planning and, getting to the point before the construction begins.
That's exactly right. Then we have general service contracts, and then we have tangible goods. So those are the four main opportunities. All of those bidding opportunities are listed on our purchasing website. So encourage businesses in the community to frequent those pages.
Yep.
So when we had our AVL outreach event, we walked through that process, shared what those opportunities can look like. That was in June. We also encourage the businesses to become registered vendors with the City of Asheville. There's no cost to do that, to become a registered vendor. And also we offer a minority and women-owned business enterprise certification with the City of Asheville. Many of the businesses who attended did engage, become registered vendors, and they became MWB certified. This was in June.
4 months later.
4 months later. Now, between June and September, a large focus of my work and our office's work is building really intentional, authentic relationship with our underutilized businesses. There's a email listserv that I've developed that I constantly share resource opportunities, training opportunities with our underutilized businesses. So between June and September, built some really robust relationship and engagement.
Yep.
Then the storm hits unexpectedly, and now we find ourselves, instead of the normal procurement and operating, normal procurement and contracting, now we find ourselves in emergency response.
Right, and then the whole process changes because we have to. It's a very. I remember that being a very important moment in the emergency room where we held our communications meetings. It's like, we want to be inclusive, we want to go through the process, we want to be diligent and responsible. At the same time, people are in danger, and a lot of the decisions we have to make, we need to make them ASAP. I'm not sure how that affected the procurement side of things, but I can imagine, maybe some of the choices we make, we didn't feel comfortable with moving as quickly as we did. We want to give opportunity to people. It's hard to give opportunity to people when they're not there.
Yes.
So, please go on.
No, you bring up some really great points, Sam. And I want to highlight something that I think has proven to be very significant in our response to Helene as a city. So when I was in the Office of Equity and Inclusion, I was the liaison for the fire department, and I worked closely with the fire department, specifically with our emergency manager, Assistant Fire Chief Jeremy Knighton. And
huge props to him, by the way. He got us through Helene.
Yes,
yes,
absolutely. He reached out to me about a year and a half or so ago, and we were in the early stages of developing our emergency operation plans and our contingency of operation plans. We had that in place as the framework when Helene hits in September, and now we could begin to do very plans that we had developed. And it was an incredible opportunity for me to be a part of that process as well. So the storm hits. We're now, as a city, in what's referred to as emergency procurement. Okay. We're looking for those services and those businesses to address the specific well-being and needs of the community, because we're in emergency operations. And Sam, I can't underestimate, I say this enough, how important it is for our local businesses, small businesses, underutilized businesses, to remain in constant relationship with the city. Because one of the things we really learned in the moment were what those capabilities were.
Yeah, building the connections, rapport with the people, of course. And then, once you need something, Marcus knows who to call.
There it is. So Helene hit September the 27th. About mid-October, we had Ashbritt to come in. Ashbritt is the company that worked under the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to manage our debris operations.
Yes.
And so mid-October was the first time that I physically sat down with Ashbritt, Matt at Ashbritt, and started talking about debris removal contracts for our local businesses.
Matt and Randy.
Yes, and I met Randy probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks after.
After that. Okay, so you meet with Ashbritt. They are going to help us manage debris. And then what was your role in those few meetings? Like, what was going on?
Yeah, great question. So it's worth noting that Ashbritt is a nationally known company, well respected. And Ashbritt had very humble beginnings. Randy Perkins is the owner and the founder. He started out with a very small landscaping business of his own. So when he came into Asheville, he was equally eager to meet with me as I was with Ashbritt to create these opportunities for underutilized businesses and small businesses. So my first meeting with Matt was I provided him a list of businesses that I had already reached out to say who's ready, willing, and available to engage in the debris removal contracts. Matt and I began vetting those, walking through, making the phone calls, reaching out, sharing the opportunity, and we started developing contracts from that very point.
And that's where you are right now.
Yes.
Helping. So, well, there's so many ways this conversation can go now. I want to take a quick step back into talking about why it is that we have to go through Ashbritt specifically. And some of the bumps on the road that we've come across as we're trying to help them, get the debris. We're talking about like street debris and then river debris. Asheville, great place, great people, very passionate, and to the point where some people were going to the rivers to help clean out the debris. And sadly, with reason, the response was, please don't. Please stop. Because if it's not done through the guidelines of the contractor we have, then the funding is void, and then we don't have an actual, company to come help us. Do you want to talk a little bit more on this?
I do, and I appreciate that. You highlighted something that I would say, and I'm saying this both personally and professionally, is special about Asheville, is that tangible sense of community.
Right.
Really being involved. And we saw an overwhelming response of those who wanted to jump in, roll up the sleeves, and begin being active part of the cleanup process, which we absolutely appreciate. The challenge that we had, and we continue to manage as we move through this, is that there are so many legal requirements. There are so many policies that have to be followed to the specific T, so that we as a municipality do not place ourselves in a vulnerable situation. So what we've been doing a really good job is saying, hey, listen, we absolutely appreciate your desire, your willingness to participate. We will find those opportunities where you will be able to engage in the recovery efforts so that it doesn't jeopardize anyone's safety, well-being, or that we don't violate any policies or legislation that is at a higher level.
It's not a no, it's a yes, like this.
Yes,
come help us, because it's just, I think it's a little different to clean debris from a river because there's just so much than cutting a tree that's blocking the road, because I did that on the day of the storm. Helene was half hour away from us, and I'm already getting out of my car to help people cut down trees to get home. So there's a huge difference in there though, because the safety part of it, we don't know what's in the water. You may have the equipment, but if you do something that, I don't know, breaks up a bunch of debris in the water and it goes down river, then that becomes a liability too. So it's great to know that you're a part of that conversation and you're putting people in touch with the people managing the process. So big thanks to you on that.
And if I may add this
Yeah.
piece, Sam, I just want to encourage our listeners in our community to realize that our recovery process is going to be a very long
Oh yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And there will be opportunities to engage is one piece. And the second really quick piece I'd like to share is that sometimes when we think about recovery, especially after a natural disaster, we just think about recovery at this physical level as far as what we can see. But recovery also happens at this very human, personal level, and how we engage with one another on a daily basis as we move through this. Because that human interaction of recovery is equally as important to debris removal or any other physical recovery.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, to talk about both points you just brought up, we've had great response from the community so far. I'm talking about the CDBG fund, the CDBG-DR funding. I'm talking about the unmet needs questionnaire that we put out, I want to say January, February at this point. And we have received a lot of feedback. And, the city has been very careful on what surveys go out and what engagement opportunities happen at this point, because we know that we're a very, how do I say this, delicate position. We don't want to overwhelm you with all the surveys and all the things that people make fun of all the time. I love seeing those comments on Reddit. It's like, oh, look, the city put out another survey. It's like, yes, you're absolutely right. So we've been trying to be super careful on let's hit the points that matter the most right now, because that's what's going to make us move forward. And yeah, the reception has been good. We do still get some trolls. It happens to every big corporation or local city government, where you have enough followers that some people want to stir the pot, and some people are angry too, which I totally understand as well. But yeah, the reception has been good, and I think that if we continue to go down this alley of open feedback, open communication, having people like you go out in the community and be with them while they process and recover themselves, then I think we're going the right way.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. So, Ashbritt, tell me a little bit more about them. You mentioned Matt and Randy.
Yes.
What else is happening?
I want to take a moment, if I may,
Yeah.
to really focus in on Randy Perkins. Again, Randy was the founder of Ashbritt. From the first meeting Randy and I had mid to late October, without question, he demonstrated his commitment and his heart for helping small businesses get started. And he and I sat down and we talked about hosting a debris removal contract outreach opportunity, which we did at the Dr. Wesley Grant Center in mid-December. We had a great turnout of businesses who came out in that outreach event. For those small businesses who may not have had the equipment to do the debris removal, Randy and his team put together contractors to come in to offer opportunities to be able to purchase that equipment at a reasonable price. He created the framework for the small businesses and underutilized businesses to be successful. And real quick, but it is significant to what Randy stood for, what Ashbritt stood for, and the impact that it had on our communities. After that outreach event, there were 2 small businesses who met with Randy personally just after Christmas. And they talked with him about getting debris removal contracts. And Randy gave him his word that they would have those opportunities. These are local businesses. One was a lawn care business who had lost everything. The second business owner had an automotive shop, but he did some landscaping.
Okay.
He had lost everything. Randy gave them an opportunity, and unexpectedly, Randy passed away and died. And we all felt that deeply, personally and professionally, because he lived for giving the opportunity to all people.
He started as a small business, so
Started a small business, and
it doesn't get more real than that.
and sometimes you can hear that in lip service, but we experienced that with Randy and Ashbritt.
Yeah.
And after the first of the year, I had the opportunity to sit down with his daughter, Brittany, and we discussed everything that had unfolded. And Brittany conveyed that Ashbritt was still committed to living out Randy's legacy of helping small businesses, and that work has continued on.
And do you mind if I ask who has taken the mantle of Randy moving forward?
Yeah, great follow-up question. I would say first, his daughter, Brittany.
Who is part of the namesake of the company?
That's exactly right. She is a very present voice in that, ensuring that everyone, the Ashbritt team, is committed to that. Here on the grounds, we've got Matt with Ashbritt, and we've got Corey. Matt is managing the overall boots on the ground, debris removal. Corey, an incredible asset to Ashbritt, worked directly with our underutilized businesses and supporting them, showing them the ropes, how to move through, and help also create those opportunities. So Brittany, Matt, and Corey have been incredibly instrumental in being able to continue to move this work forward.
That's great. Big thanks to all of you Ashbritt people, Ashbritt itself, Randy, big thanks. So you mentioned two businesses that were affected that met with Randy. Where are they now? What happened with those meetings?
Yes. The first business, the gentleman had a small landscaping business, had lost everything. He came to my office, he sat down and shared where we was at. I immediately connected him to Matt.
And super quick, because I love this story. He was like days from like completely just shutting down, losing everything, just moving on with his life. And he came to you, to your office. I'm pretty sure someone like brought him up. He walked on the 5th floor and he, bam, here's Marcus.
That is exactly what happened. He had called me that morning, left me a voicemail. By the time I got to my office, he was sitting there at my office. I met with him, immediately reached out to Matt at Ashbritt, shared what was going on. Also shared that he had already met with Randy, and Randy had given him his word.
Yep.
That gentleman got engaged with debris removal, did extremely well. He was able to save his business, provide for his family, and he expresses on a regular basis how grateful he is. The second gentleman who had lost his business, he actually started engaging in the debris removal work towards the end of January.
Okay.
He has done extremely well, and he's received major kudos from the community in the cleanup work that he's done, where community members are emailing in saying, thank you, his team and his crew did incredible work.
Do we want to say who these people are? Just the name of the person. Like, big thank you to.
Yes, indeed. So let me pull up that information.
Yeah, and I while you do that, I just want to say, wow, stories like that are rare, but that really shows the work that you are doing, Marcus. It's so uplifting to know that a business, a small business, survived an event like this because they were able to make those connections. And the person who did that was you.
I appreciate that, Sam. I'm a firm believer in community and helping one another and being of service. The first gentleman, his name is Chris.
Chris, big thank you to you.
Big shout out to Chris. and I am actually looking for the other gentleman. It's going to come to me.
It's been a few months, and you meet people all the time. So sorry for putting you under the spotlight.
That is all right.
And so, we talked a little bit about Randy. We know that he passed away earlier in the year, and I know you gave me your notes here that we're going to be honoring Randy later on next month on May the 9th from 5 to 9 p.m. at the YMI. So, I know that people have their emotions about debris. No one likes debris, and there's frustrations with how things are timed and whatnot. I think this is a great time to step back a little bit and reflect on the people who are doing the work. And we're all human, doing our best. So if you have the time, you should come to the YMI on May the 9th and honor Randy with the rest of Ashbritt and members from the community.
Yes, and that's a great summary, Sam. The other gentleman's name is Shane.
Shane. Big thanks to Shane. Chris and Shane, thank you.
Out of the devastation and the travesties of Helene, what we've seen is the strength of community.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the strength of committed partnership and relationship building. And that is what has made all of these success stories possible. We've had two other small businesses who engaged in the debris removal contract opportunities, who ended up building, growing their business and hiring 2 or 3 crews. And that's really significant because not only are they a part of the recovery efforts here in their own community, but now they're building a business and they're contributing back to our economic recovery, and that is extremely significant to be a part of that.
It is because we could easily find people from neighboring cities, states to come and pay them, and we have been lucky enough to be in a position where we can do that internally and find people within our community and pay them to then create jobs, get the economy moving. So, great news all throughout. Big thanks to you, Marcus. I know you've been putting a lot of time and effort into everything after Helene. I mean, your job responsibilities have shifted like crazy. And I get your emails all the time. And what I love about them is that I see members of the community replying back to those emails. So I'm like, who is this person? And I see that, they're not a city employee. They're responding to your opportunities that you're putting out there. So, if you know someone who, if you're listening, someone who could benefit from getting in touch with Marcus, small businesses, business owners. If you want to open a business, I guess you could lead them in the right direction. Reach out to Marcus. How can people best reach out to you, Marcus?
Yes, the best way to reach out to me, my mobile number is 828-450-2928. Sometimes I have to pause because I don't call that number myself. But my email address is M as in Mike, my last name Kirkman @asheville.nc.gov. You can also go to our City of Asheville website at Economic Development, search for Business Inclusion Manager, and my contact information is there. Yeah,
if you go to asheville.nc.gov, you'll see that big search bar right at the top. Just look up business inclusion, and that's going to lead you all the way to Marcus and his team. Anything else you want to say, Marcus, now that we're reaching the end of the episode?
Yes, major shout out to our colleague Jess Foster.
Huge. Yes.
An incredible work she did in managing the debris removal. Also, our colleague Jessica Hughes, who has been directly engaged with everything debris. Shout out to 2 other small business owners here in Asheville, Renita and also Stephen Smith for the incredible work that they did in the debris removal work in Asheville. This has and it will continue to be a community effort.
Yeah.
And it's going to take all of us working together to move through this.
Yes, we will. And especially with your help. So, well, thank you for coming here. This was a storytelling episode. Not much to debrief on, but just the amazing adventures of Marcus after Helene and helping the community. So, thank you, Marcus.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on What's Up Asheville. Continue being good to one another, Asheville.
Right on.
You've been listening to What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville in collaboration with WRS 100.7 FM. This program will re-air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:30. Thank you for listening.